and that's helpful. But when you look around, then you see a whole bunch of other things. We have a public education system where we spend tens of billions of dollars a year, and yet too many companies have to go outside California and outside the country to hire a workforce to meet the needs of that company. Now, if we're spending tens of billions of dollars this year and tens of billions of dollars last year and tens of billions of dollars the previous year, why do we have to go outside this state and outside this country to find a workforce to populate our businesses? You know, I just spent a little over 2 hours coming about 60 miles. And why is that? Because for decades, Democrats have been diverting money from transportation programs for their pet projects. And then more recently, they raised our taxes, gas tax.
So they're Republicans.
In November, 12 cents immediately on regular and 20 cents on diesel.
And now we have Republicans who joined with it and they need to be able to
count. Go to road construction. Crazy. They're still going to divert some of that.
Illegals.
And you know, that's the state the Democrats have given us. That's why they don't want to talk about it. The crime rate's going up in so many communities.
Yep.
Imagine this. The Democrat legislature and Jerry Brown let felons out of state prison and out of jail, and the crime rate's going up. Isn't that the craziest thing you ever heard? Well, if you had let felons out of prison and felons out of jail and the crime rate went up, you probably wouldn't be talking about that either. You'd want to be talking about someone else. So by any metric, California's in trouble. By the way, we're adding jobs, but we're losing jobs that pay this to other states, and we're creating jobs that pay this. So,
Chairman Jim Brutle of the California Republican Party is speaking to the South Bay and Peck Republicans.
And I do it. I hope you do it. If you're not on our talking points list, we're happy to get them for you. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about what Republicans would do if we're in charge versus what the Democrats have done while they're in charge. So I think 2018 can be a really good year for us at the state level. And we're also trying to revitalize local county parties. We have a vacancy here, just so you know, Mark Baffiades. How many of you know Mark Baffiades? Mark used to be the chairman of the Los Angeles County Party, was the regional vice chair of the California Republican Party. Mark left us a couple weeks ago. He's now working at the Department of Health and Human Services in Washington, D.C. for President Trump and the Trump administration. So good for Mark.
I don't blame the top levels. They can't know everything.
I just replaced him. I recommended to the board, and the board approved Steve Fazio to be the regional vice chair for this area. Steve, as you know,
he ran
was
for
one
state
of our
senate.
candidates. He ran for office. Ran a really good race in a really tough district that Republicans haven't won for a long time. So he's now the Los Angeles County regional vice chair, and his job is to help us rebuild the party in Los Angeles County as well. He's a guy who's a volunteer. He's a guy who raises money and gives money, and he's a guy who knows that leaders lead by example. So you're going to see him shoulder to shoulder with you in the precincts as we work. And we've really been encouraging our local county parties to step up and focus on races that they can win in their area. And what do I mean by that? You know, there's some areas in the state that are just so overwhelmingly Republican, where if the county party did everything wrong, we'd still have a Republican in Congress, a Republican in the Senate, and a Republican in the Assembly. And there are some areas in the state that are so overwhelmingly Democrat, where if the local Republicans do everything right, They'll never have a Republican in Congress, and never have a Republican in the state Senate, and never have a Republican in the state Assembly. But you know what? There are going to be 1,000 elections between now and next November. Okay? The press is going to write about the governor's race. The press may write about the U.S. Senate race. The press may write about a couple of the congressional races.
Dear Lisa.
But there are races for city council.
Omar Navarro.
There are races for county supervisor. There are races for municipal utility district. There are races for county boards of supervisors. There are races for school boards at the local level or at the county level. There are going to be 1,000 races. We have elections this November. We have elections next March, I believe. We have elections next April. We have elections next June. And we have elections next November. And each and every one of those are areas of opportunities for us to take it to the other side to move our policy agenda. See, I believe that there's only one role of a political party, and that's to take control of the government to move your agenda for the benefit of the people in your city, county, state, or nation.
7 Republicans didn't help.
And we have a lot of cities and we have a lot of counties where Republicans have control.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
They're moving a more conservative, more
San Diego County, I guess.
business-friendly agenda.
Orange County.
More liberty.
I'm talking Board of Supervisors.
We have some areas where we have areas of opportunity. And that's why it's important to have strong grassroots organizations. Because in the state party, we're a service provider. You know, I want to be real clear on that. We're a service provider. I never cease to be amazed at some Republicans who hate big government and don't like top-down government, but they believe in top-down political parties. You know, they think the national party or the state party should do everything. And that's not my view. My view is we ought to be a bottom-up party. Our locals should be in charge to the extent
And they're
they can.
corrupt, like Janice Webb.
I live in the Inland Empire.
Like Janice Webb right there,
I shouldn't be telling
corrupt.
you who we should be trying to elect in Torrance. You should be telling us who we should be trying to elect in Torrance. And frankly, I don't need you telling me who we should be electing in my county or my city. I think I know my city a little bit better. So there's 1,000 elections we can participate in. And we can have an impact. For example, and this is part of the hypocrisy of my counterparts on the Democrat side, you know, nobody likes monopolies, by and large. The only person or entity that likes monopolies are the monopolists themselves. You know, if there's only one restaurant in this city, you have to drive 100 miles to go to another restaurant, that restaurant's going to do real well because they have a monopoly. They might like it, the rest of us wouldn't. So we don't like monopolies. Democrats say they don't like monopolies. So then why do Democrats give government monopolies? Why is there a monopoly in the public school system? We have a monopoly in the public school system.
Yep.
Government gets all the money to the California public school system. Well, I'm not against the California public school systems. I'm a product of the California public school system. But you know, there are private schools, there are parochial schools, there are religious, mostly Christian schools.
Awesome.
And why are we against monopolies? Because we inherently understand that competition is good. Competition is good. It challenges you. It forces you to be better. I'm for competition. So, with Democrats having total control of Sacramento in the legislature and the governor, and the California Teachers Association, that union, having dominant control of the Democratic Party, are we going to get much competition out of Sacramento when it comes to schools?
Hell no.
Definitely not. Somebody said hell no?
Yeah.
Definitely not. Yeah, well, that's...
Hell to the
It'll
no.
come as a surprise, Art. You're a little bit more...
Outspoken.
Flowery with your language.
I don't know about flowery. Some people don't like that one.
If you want to improve public education,
Hey, it worked for Bob Dornan.
why not elect people to school boards that are willing to give the public school system a little competition? A local school board can authorize charter schools. Not every public school is bad,
Right.
but not every public school is really good.
No.
And there can be problems with charter schools, but charter schools can be good too. And it gives parents choice. And it gives
We know all this.
competition for the public
Let's get to
school
the.
system.
Let's cut to the
So
crap here.
In some cases, a community focusing on electing one or two pro-charter school conservatives to school boards is the best way you can improve the public school system in your community. Same thing is true with the county board of education. By the way, you did it in this county. Los Angeles County had an election, I think it was June, where you now have charter school advocates who control the Los Angeles County Board of Education. At the California Republican Party, we have been partnering to the extent we're allowed to, under the law, with charter school groups to elect pro-charter school candidates to local school boards and county boards of education. Because what happens is, if the local school district turns down the charter, the county board of education can authorize the charter. So in LA and San Diego and Orange County and San Bernardino County, we've been working to elect pro-charter school folks. You know, in campaigns, it's easy to focus on president or governor because that's where the media focus is. But there's a lot of races at the local level where we can have an inordinate amount of impact on. You spend 2 days walking a precinct for the president, our presidential candidate, you may pick up 50 votes. In California, that's not a lot. You spend those same 2 days walking for a school board or a city council candidate, those extra 50 votes may be...
We're in Torrance, California, folks.
...winning and losing. So I'm excited about 2018. We have a really great opportunity to elect a governor. I think we're going to have a fun time taking on the Democrats, forcing them to explain the mess they have made out of California, forcing them to defend high-speed rail from LA to San Francisco that is not high speed and doesn't go from LA to San Francisco. A Democratic Party that says they're all for new ideas. Well, we've got a new idea. It's called Hyperloop. I don't know if any of you have been following that. Elon Musk has basically said we can move people faster, cheaper. They just tested out a mile or two of it in the desert out by my house. It's actually state-of-the-art technology. If we want to have a train system from LA to San Francisco, we probably ought to use technology that's not a decade or 2 or 3 decades old.
Elon Musk is in Hawthorne too.
Like the Hyperloop, if in fact the voters want that. So we're going to have a great opportunity to talk about our record and contrast it with their record, and we're going to expose them. They don't want to talk about their record, and that's why every time you hear them, what was that Joe Biden said about Rudy Giuliani? All he can say is a noun and a verb and 9/11. Remember that? Well, what are the Democrats running in California? All they do is they have a noun and a verb and Donald Trump. And that's because they don't want to talk about public education. They don't want to talk about public transportation. They don't want to talk about having 2 million kids living below the poverty level. They don't want to talk about losing higher paying jobs and replacing them with lower paying jobs. They don't want to talk about the fact that we have more people living on welfare. The fact of the matter is we have a middle class that is shrinking in California, not growing. They don't want to talk about the fact that we are exporting jobs and companies not only overseas but to other states that are more competitive. And they don't want to talk about the inefficiencies they have as they have total control of the government. So I think 2018 is going to be a great opportunity for us. I want to thank you, John. I want to thank you, Todd, for everything you've done already in your life to help elect Republicans. I want to thank you in advance for everything you're going to do this next year and between now and November to help elect Republicans. And I want to thank you for allowing me the privilege of being chairman of this party. Like you, I'm a volunteer. Like you, I believe that California can have great days in the future. Like you, I don't believe that the left has all the right answers. Like you, I don't want a single-payer system in California that's going to cost $400 billion a year. The Democrats in the Senate just passed that, state Senate, $400 billion. By the way, the general fund in California is $180 billion. So everything we do right now is $180 billion. They want to add $400 billion to it. And how do they pay for it? With a 17.5% employer payroll tax. So I think it's going to be a great election opportunity for us. I'm honored to partner with you. If you're walking precincts for a candidate in Orange County or in LA County, invite me down. I'll walk precincts with you. Maybe we can get John out there. We'll look a little bit better. And so with that, let me say thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious, what are the parameters that the California Republican Party put together? What are the parameters that are possibly in place that the California Republican Party does for Republican candidates to try to get party money for the campaigns?
Sure.
And if they are conservative, do they have a chance?
Well, I hope so.
I mean, very conservative at all?
Sure.
You know.
Absolutely.
How about if they're Trump supporters?
Well, I was the chairman of the Trump delegation to the Republican National Convention from California. I'm a Trump supporter. In fact, I
hope.
My number may be off, so don't hold me to it. I believe there were 5 state party chairs, maybe 7, but I know there were at least 5 state party chairs who actually got to sign the document to put Donald Trump's name into nomination at the Republican National Convention. And you are looking at one of those state chairs who had that privilege. The California delegation was the largest Trump delegation.
Well, duh, we were at the very end of the primary.
Vocal delegation
Yes.
at the Republican National Convention.
Still are.
And I interact with the Trump White House on a weekly basis as we're trying to move our agenda forward collectively. So let me just start with that. Then let me walk you through, and I don't want to get overly technical because I don't have 4 hours, but the California Republican Party is a service provider. We provide services by and large. I like to put it this way. We're not the Marines, we're not the first one on the beach, and we don't bake cakes. And what do I mean by that?
We're in Torrance, California,
Campaigns
folks.
are like cakes. You start with ingredients. You have to have a candidate.
Fruitcakes and cupcakes.
That candidate has to be able to raise money.
Yeah.
That candidate has to be able to inspire volunteers.
I wonder
That
who.
candidate has to be able to deliver a message that resonates with voters. And that's the cake. And
This is a common
what I say is,
image he uses.
we're willing to put the icing on the cake, but we're not willing to bake the cake. There are a lot of people, real world example. I had this guy when I became party chair said, you know, I'm running for Congress in the Bay Area. If you give me $3 million, I can win. He said, well, how much money have you raised? He said, about $2,500. Okay. See, my point of view is, and I'm conservative. My rhetoric's not conservative, but trust me on this, I'm as conservative as most of you in the room. I don't believe in welfare. I believe welfare should be a helping hand for a temporary period of time. Why I voted when I was in the legislature to reform welfare. Carried legislation that created the maximum family grant. I actually wrote a law that said if you have one child in welfare, you get X. If you get 2 child, you get X. If you get 3 child, you don't get any more because I don't believe we should incent you. So we should be willing to help candidates, but we shouldn't be willing to do their job for them. And there are a lot of candidates who run that think other people ought to do their job for them. And let me tell you what, those are the kind of people, when they get into office, they take our money to do things for other people that other people should do for themselves. So let me tell you how we partner. We partner with the National Republican Congressional Committee to the extent possible to help elect Republicans to Congress. The National Republican Congressional Committee is made up of the congressional Republicans from across the country, and they have one job and one job only, and that's electing Republicans to Congress. That's the only thing they focus on. When they go into a district and say, hey, we're ready to throw all of our resources behind this candidate, we partner with them. We work with the Assembly Caucus and the Senate Caucus. The Assembly Caucus, their job is simply to elect Republicans to the Assembly. The Senate Caucus's job is simply to elect candidates to the Senate. They do the heavy lifting. They do the candidate development. They do a lot of the opposition research. They do most of the work at electing those candidates. And we come in and we try to put icing on the cake. And we work with our local county parties. And when our local county parties come to us and say, hey, we're going to focus on these 3 races, will you help? The very first question I ask is,
we're in Mimi's and Torrance.
What are you willing to do? So let me give you 2 real-world examples. A couple of years ago, the chairman of the San Diego County Republican Party called and said, we'd like the state party's help electing Kevin Faulkner mayor of San Diego. I said, well, what are you prepared to do? They said, well, we're prepared to spend over $1 million and put hundreds of precinct walkers in the field to help him.
Okay.
And I said, okay, if the board of directors of the state party decides to support your candidate, we'll be there. Because, you know, it's not my party, I'm just a member of the board of directors. I don't get to support anybody. You know, the board of directors decides. So we decided to help. We endorsed them and we helped. We raised some money and we gave them money. Got a call from a different county party, said, hey, we want you to endorse candidate X for state assembly. Good. How much money are you going to raise and spend for that candidate? Nothing. How many volunteers are you going to put in the field to help that candidate? Well, we don't have volunteers. My response was, I love you dearly, but what you're doing is asking me to do your job. And I don't ask you to do mine, and I'm not going to do yours. So there is a process we help. So let me just walk you through it. And I know this answer's long, but a lot of people don't understand the state.
They'll probably
budget.
answer a lot of questions that
won't
need to be asked.
I think we are wicked smart that we can look at 1,000
So I don't know
races
what
and
to say,
determine where we
but
should invest.
I'm not sure how hard to go. What do you want me to ask?
When I became chairman of the party,
put a question there.
the
There's
board
a
of
lot of things I
directors
wanna
could
ask.
endorse anybody for any office,
So I wanna make that very
irrespective of
clear.
what the
I wanna do
local
what I can.
grassroots thought.
I've got a lot for you to ask.
In fact, they endorsed a candidate for the state assembly that was specifically opposed by the local county party. Now that didn't make sense to me because I don't believe in top-down government and I don't believe in top-down political parties. So I actually got a bylaw amendment passed that said we can't endorse anybody that hasn't been endorsed by the local county party. If the Los Angeles County Republican Party does not endorse a candidate for local office in LA County,
What's the problem?
why should the California Republican
county party blocked me on
endorse
Twitter.
that candidate? Doesn't make any sense.
should
They
bring
already
that
made
up.
a
It would be a
decision.
grassroots-based
So they're violating
bottom-up
this
party.
thing.
That's how we should do it. So we have a process in place.
They're already picking and
The
choosing who they
local
want.
county parties do the first crack at endorsements. And then the state party can either say we're going to endorse that candidate or not take a position at all. But we cannot endorse someone that the local party has not endorsed. Because I believe in bottom-up parties, not top-down parties. We'll also do training for candidates who want training. We've done training all around the state. And we continue to do that. So yeah, we help, but we don't do people's jobs for them. And you know, this is the one that people never like to hear. But you know, I spend almost all of my time raising money. And I'm okay with that, because you have to have money to do it. But there are a lot of candidates who say, I'm a great candidate, but they can't raise any money. And let me tell you, if you can't raise money, you're not a great candidate. And there are a lot of candidates who say, I'm a great candidate, who have no volunteers helping them. If you can't inspire volunteers, you're not a great candidate. So we partner. We're not the Marines. We're not the first one on the beach. We don't bake cakes. But my commitment is, if your local party likes you and you're on the 2-yard line, we'll come in and try to help you get the last 2 yards. But we don't pick up the ball at the 20-yard line and run it 78 yards down the field with you on our backs. We partner, but we expect you to do most of the work because we can't. We just can't. Art.
Absolutely. Or do I need the microphone? I was a teacher, but, you know, I don't feel like throwing my voice out. I've lost it a few times. So, and I don't feel like putting him at a disadvantage. Is there a microphone I can have? Oh, God, you have to have it on a cord. Holy crap. Okay. Maybe I should, I don't know. Okay.
You can get up.
There's no point in, like, giving people a hard time here.
Just get up.
Hey, Miss Saraganian. Maybe I should, like you said, I should bake the cake, and you put the icing on it. Okay. So what I always learned is, you know, we're in a serious position as a party. That's a fact. We have a winning, we have huge victories, pun intended, despite some of the debacles. I think we're going to have a great Senate run. Maybe not here. I think we're going to have a supermajority, actually, because of Trump. I always learned, you know, it's a sandwich. You say something good, you say something corrective or bad or whatever, and then say something good again. So I'm sure you have to repeat that message, and it's worth hearing over and over again that it's not your job to be the candidate. It's the candidate's job to be the candidate. You can use that, no copyright, have a great time. But I think the organization within the party, I get the idea of you not being the welfare queen. I get it. Or we're being welfare and you're the big daddy government, whatever. We need more of like a federal approach. And this speaks specifically to the outrageous behavior of our minority leader who partnered with Democrats and raised our gas tax by another 71 cents. And this undermines, in a sense, our argument against Josh Newman. And I think we're going to have his head on a platter. I really do. We've already got a Fullerton mayor, I think, who's jumped in. He's going to bake his cake. I'm really not happy about that. And I think that you as a chairman and the rest of your executive board, there has to be a federal aspect of, hey, you're out of line. This is not acceptable. That's the first thing. And the affair that he had with Kristen Olsen, she's got to go. She's got to be gone. We are the party of family values, and he and she have obliterated that. And not only that, they've taken away a talking point to go after Gavin Newsom and Villaraigosa. I said to Villaraigosa and Cudahy, you slept with every woman but your wife. I don't want that taken away from us. And we have problems with the county parties too. And I understand, I respect your hands-off approach to a degree. I respect that. There was a conflict up in the Monterey County area where a Central Committee member endorsed a Democrat and nothing happened. I think that should have been taken care of. You need to take care of those things. I respect boundaries. I understand you're not supposed to be their parent, but we have bylaws. And we've had problems here in LA County as well. My charter was revoked for no good reason. I did not violate bylaws. David Hadley had done the same thing I had done. And Miss Webb here, who serves as the chairwoman for the 66th, called my boss, tried to pressure me to cancel a meeting for Latinos for Trump. Like one right over here. And we need to reach out to Latinos. That's been your lead, so I follow it. I'm not expecting you to be a referee or to solve this problem. Because like I said, I want you to focus on helping our state to grow. Miss Webb, your behavior was disrespectful and despicable.
Arthur?
Now,
Arthur.
so, what I'm asking you to do,
Is there a question here?
I'm trying to get to it, and I have to build to it because this is the crap that's been going on in this county, and I'm not the only club that's been harassed in this respect.
We're 10 minutes over.
So,
That's the question.
It wasn't 10 minutes, it was 2. Thank you.
10 right now. We have to get out of
What
the
I'm
room.
urging you to do, and it's a it's a request, because you're going to have an executive meeting. And I understand that the committee members are going after Chad Mays. You as executive leaders need to be taking a harder stance on wayward legislators, wayward county leaders, to ensure that we as individual grassroots members are able to have power that you want us to have. Because we don't have it. It's taken from us. And in some ways, sadly, it's Charles Munger's money that seems to be buying up seats rather than us being able to have our own central committees. I'm asking you, I don't have an answer. You've been doing this longer than I have. But I'm urging you to find something so that your board ensures that bylaws are followed, that we don't have these wayward members. And I'm getting the bottom of the hamburger here. Thank you again. This was a thankless job. I really think they should put something like a stipend in there for you and Harmeet and Sean. I think we get more people who'd be willing to run for chairman. Thank you again for your service. I am saying that. Thank you.
Well, there's a whole lot there.
So we'll focus on this. My request is for the executive committee to take over having more power to deal with this wayward nonsense.
Let me see if I
No, I
can-
won't shut up. He's my chairman. He works for me just as every other does.
Arthur. Arthur.
Deal with it.
Sit down.
No, I won't. I'll stand as much as I want to. You're interrupting him. Go ahead.
Let me answer, and
Yeah, Todd, stop interrupting.
y'all are, you have my number, and we've talked a number of times. So let me just unpack some of those things. County central committees are populated by people who are elected by the Republican voters in those counties. Under our rules and under California election law, every 4 years, county parties go to the ballot and they elect representatives for their county party. And I'm aware of the issue you raised in Monterey. And a lot of people tried to drag me into it. But hear me on this.
Okay.
I am a conservative. I believe in local control. It is not just my philosophy of government, it's my philosophy of political parties. And I live in Fontana. And it's not my job to tell the Monterey County Republican Party, elected by Monterey County Republicans, how to do their job. And trust me on this, you don't want a state party chairman telling every county what to do. You don't want me coming into this county and saying, LA County, I don't like what you've done, so X, Y, and Z is going to happen. First of all, that's not the way our laws for the party are built.
Okay.
And it's not how I choose to do it. Because at the end of the day, you really don't want one Republican deciding everything that happens in California. Second issue,
I don't want that either.
you raised the issue of Chad Mays.
Yeah.
So let me answer this. I'll give you the same answer I gave to the LA Times, because I give the same answers everywhere. There are about 5 million Californians who are Republican. 5 million. And each and every one of them get to give their opinion on whatever they want, whenever they want, with one exception, and that's me. I'm actually the one Republican that is responsible for speaking on behalf of the party. Now, you raised the issue of Chad Mays. The delegates to the California Republican Party have not taken a position on this because we haven't been to convention. We will be in convention in October. We have a board of directors meeting a week from tomorrow, which I called. It's my prerogative as the chair. There will be a motion relative to this issue.
Okay.
It will be a public meeting. Everyone will have the opportunity to take a vote. I will cast a vote. My vote will be public. You will be able to see what my point of view is. And when the board of directors casts that vote on Friday, I will speak on behalf of the party as clearly as I can and enunciate what that vote means.
It's open to delegates to
Every
vote.
member of the board of directors can go out and say what they want. I have to be a little bit more restrained because you didn't elect me party chair just to give my point of view anytime I want to give my point of view. You elected me party chair to speak on your behalf. It's why I defend our platform. I don't necessarily agree with everything in our platform, but it's your platform. You wrote it. It's my job to defend it because I am your representative. So I have a point of view on the issue you raised.
Okay.
You will hear about it because I will enunciate it at the board meeting, and then when the board acts collectively, the board of directors will take a position, and as the chairman of that board, I'll let you know.
That's a meeting open to delegates to vote at?
Well, it's delegates don't get to vote; they're not members of the board.
Okay.
Delegates get to vote on resolutions at convention, but
Okay.
it's an open meeting. There's a mechanism to call in. I don't know exactly what it is, but
Okay.
you know, I know we're spending $800 or $1,000, so more than 23 members of the board can call in. Yes, ma'am.
Question, speaking of the technology for delegates participating in board meetings and also participating in watching maybe from home streaming, watching from home perhaps if they can't go say
Oh, we shouldn't have invited Arthur.
in the South. Is there some technology?
Tomorrow, streaming technology for convention, and I will ask our technical staff to do that, to see if we have a capacity to do that, because I think there's value. We've had C-SPAN, but there's got to be a capacity to do that.
Well,
As to
and
our-
then that way it would be, they would have to log in, it wouldn't
Sure.
be just what
Sure.
C-SPAN is showing, it would be everything.
Well, you know,
And maybe
look,
for a fee.
well, our conventions are open to the press. You know, we're not hiding things. They get to see us warts and all, and if you've ever been to a political party convention, whether it's ours or the Dems or the Greens, it's like kind of organized chaos, but I'm okay with that because, my dad used to tell me that if two people agree on absolutely everything, there's no earthly need for one of them. So I'm actually okay with conflict. Trust me, I don't agree with anyone in this room 100% of the time. I started voting in 1974, and I've only found one candidate that I agreed with 100% of the time.
It's himself. It's himself. Himself.
And that was me.
Yeah. I knew it.
Now, to board meetings, our rules say we have to have 6 in-person board meetings a year, and so I schedule our board meetings a year in advance, so our board knows, because we don't get paid to go. I don't get paid to go to a board meeting, so if I have to go to Sacramento to a board meeting, I want to buy the $99 ticket on Southwest 7 months in advance rather than the $265 ticket.
Finger of shame.
And that's only one way. So our board meetings are open to the public. They're open to our members. But by and large, most of our members don't attend. Our board does, but most of our members don't attend because I'd like to think they're comfortable with what we do. We do board calls every other month. And, I'm a huge believer in transparency. It's just, it's what I do. There are no secrets. There's nothing I won't say to you that, I'm not going to tell you anything I don't believe, and I'm not going to be different in private than I am in public. So I set up this system to allow all of our delegates to call into our conference, our convention, our board meetings. It's like $900, and if I did it, no one called in. Pardon?
What time is the meeting?
Well, they all differ. For example, our board meeting next Friday is at 7 p.m. California time. It's a call-in meeting, and it's because Harmeet, who has the motion, is actually going to be on a plane, and she's going to be on the East Coast.
Right.
And I coordinated that with her to make sure that even if there was an hour and a half or 2-hour delay in her plane, she'd still be able to be on the call because it's 10 o'clock on the East Coast.
She's the one who wants her gone,
Most of the time we meet
Good.
Saturday morning from 10 to 4 or 10 to 5, and we rotate it north to south just because, we all pay our own way. We don't get a stipend for that.
I think that should change, honestly.
And
Because then others could, like us, could
we
run.
publish them a year in advance,
can't do it for
although I
nothing.
now have to, we're all the way through December, I have to give us next year's schedule. But we welcome delegates, and even in closed session, if you're a delegate to the party, I generally ask the board to waive the rules to allow non-board members to be in our closed sessions, because I want you to know everything I know about the party, because I'm out of here. I mean, I'm not running for re-election. I will be leaving this party as chair in 2019, and it's important that we have an educated group of people that can fill the void. We're going to have a new chair. We're going to have a new vice chair. We're going to have a new secretary because they're termed out. We're going to have a new treasurer. We have 8 regional vice chairs, 2 of which are termed out. So we're going to have a significant turnover. And I believe delegates who are our bosses.
That's me.
That's right, he's a delegate. I work for him. He's one of about 1,500. I work for all of you.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe delegates have a right to know everything we've done,
Yeah.
which is why
I paid for it.
I started at conventions a section called Ask the Chairman. And it's for delegates only. Only delegates get to go in. And people get to ask me whatever they want about anything the party does. Some people want a high turnout or a low turnout. I want an educated turnout. I think if the delegates to the party understand how we're structured and how we do our job, we'll get better governance. And that's my point of view.
Thank you for your leadership, and what a great speech you've given.
Hi, I'm Arun Mitra. Thanks for your leadership and what you've done for the party. It's amazing. We have a very vibrant group in Assembly District 66, and everybody means very well and they work very hard. But we do need to get more people elected, more of our representatives, whether it's state, county, and local levels. But I guess we need more voter registration. But looking at a macro level from the top, is there any advice you can impart where we can enhance the voter registration in this
I only
district?
registered 4. I've done more
That's
than
a
the chairman
really,
did in the
really
county.
good question. And the answer is
Registrations.
not simple, but let me just walk you through a couple of them.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. I don't know if we have the time, but what were we going to ask?
So in the old days, political parties used to fund voter registration.
Because they're Munger welfare queens. That's
Then
why.
came along McCain-Feingold. The McCain-Feingold law changed the finance structure of state parties from voter registration. So without going into too much of the technical details, if you do voter registration 4 months before a federal election, you have to spend 100% federally qualified money if you do it through a political party. And when do people register to vote? Most of them register within 4 months before an election. So that's 4 months before the June election and 4 months before the November election. So basically, all of the voter registration
So
has to be
it was really
funded
good. The
with
chairman
federal money if you
agreed
go to a
with
state
me.
party and
He
vote
works for me.
registration.
And that's the attitude we have to
I
have.
mean, there are,
It's not
but nobody
happening.
registers to vote 2 days after the election. So November and December. So voter registration went outside political parties. And tend to be done by nonprofit or other entities. There's a group in California called the Golden State Voter Participation.
Janice got slammed 3 times today.
And they do voter registration because they don't have to use federal money when they do it. They can use state money.
She's the corrupt chairwoman for the 66.
Without a
And quietly
without a horrible
remind us what the
explanation.
chairwoman did to
If
you.
one of you wants to give
I was
me $1
running for
million
chair.
for
They
the
switched the
state
meetings
party,
on me, and they gave me the wrong
and it was
location.
personal money,
I showed up.
only the first 20,000
Wrong
of
location.
that
They had
could
the
be
election.
counted
She
towards
got
federal.
reelected.
And the other 980 had to be counted, 1,000 had to be counted towards non-federal, even though it was personal money. So raising federally qualified money is very, very difficult. So voter registration is not done through state parties anymore by and large.
Well, we got to change that.
One of the things we're doing,
That's gotta change,
and
'cause there's no
I'd
incentive.
love to come back and give you the presentation if you invite me.
We got to change that
We're
law.
trying to explain the demographics.
That's a federal law
changing demographics of
that you could
voters
change.
They said the county.
to a lot of
They
our
won't support
leadership
any
and our
candidate
voters.
unless
Let
they
me
have
give
to
you some
support the
real-world
county party.
examples.
That's what he said earlier.
Yeah.
California is one of 4 majority-minority states. There are only 4 majority-minority states in the country.
Let me guess where they are.
Texas, Nevada, California.
Listen, Melendez.
I'm not sure the other one off the top of
Liked
my
it.
head.
Oh, what you tweeted? Great.
We've had about a 12% decline in Republican voter registration in California from 1996 to 2016. About a 12% decline. It parallels exactly the decline in the white population in California.
No, no, no.
California in
I'm so fed up
1996
hearing
used to
that.
be at 50.8% white. Today it's about 37% white. And Republican registration used to be about 37%, and today it's about 25+%. The decline in Republican registration in California has tracked identically the decline in the white population. There are more Latinos in California today than there are whites in California. In California,
That's a spurious
over the next
correlation.
decade, 52% of the people that are going to register to vote are Latinos.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing I disagree with them on.
Democrats get about 16 out of every
Who's wrong,
vote
Republican?
Latinos. that register.
30% voted for Trump, 25 voted black.
If a
voted
white
for Trump.
registers, about 40% registered Democrat,
Asian Republican,
about
right, right.
34 registered Republican.
Brew.
And this differs county to county. For example, in San Bernardino County, 62% of the people that are going to register to vote. And how do we determine that? We take the population that is between 8 and 17, because that's the population that's going to become voting age over the next decade, right? 8 to 17.
Right.
So in my county, 62% of the people that are eligible to vote going to become eligible over the next decade are Latino. And when you add Asians and African Americans to that, 75% of the people that are going to be eligible to vote to register over the next decade. It's why you hear me say, we don't have to change our philosophy. Voters tend to agree with our philosophy, but we do have to find better ways of articulating our philosophy in a way that we connect with the fastest growing voter groups.
And it's not Latino.
It's
Asian,
axiomatic.
It's actually Asian.
In a neighborhood election, the candidate who most looks like, sounds like, has the shared values and the shared experiences of the majority of the people in the neighborhood tends to win. I'm going to say that again.
That's not working.
In a neighborhood election, the candidate who most looks like, sounds like, has the shared values and the shared experiences of the majority of the people in the neighborhood tends to win. And the neighborhoods of California are not changing, they have changed. And we as a party did not react quickly enough to that. So let me give you a couple of real world examples. We have a retired Marine Corps colonel named Paul Cook. He represents the high desert of San Bernardino County as a member of the House of Representatives. Now, why do you think retired Marine Corps Colonel Paul Cook represents the high desert of San Bernardino County in the House of Representatives?
His argument is there's a lot
of retired military there. He looks like him. He sounds like him. He has the shared values and the shared experience. We have a Senate seat in Orange County. You've heard us talk about this. Democrats had it for 20 years. It's about 25% Latino, 22% Asian. Most of the Asian was Vietnamese.
This is Janet Wynn's seat.
Democrat was termed out. The Democrats recruited a Latino Democrat. We recruited Janet Wynn.
Yay!
County supervisor, Vietnamese.
Yes.
At the beginning of that campaign, the Latino Democrat had a 3-to-1 favorable to unfavorable among Latinos. That's really good. Janet Wynn had a 22-to-1 favorable to unfavorable among Vietnamese. That's unheard of. We won a seat that the Democrats had had for almost 2 decades. Not by recruiting a candidate that didn't share our philosophy, but by recruiting a candidate that looked like, sounded like, had the shared values and the shared experience of a significant portion of the neighborhood. I like to joke. When I announced I was running for the state assembly, my white trash neighbors looked at me and said, "Hey, he's one of us." And and let me tell you what, 3-to-1 is great. 22-to-1 is unheard of. I didn't have 22-to-1 favorable to unfavorable in my immediate family when I was and I have never lost an election where more than 100 people vote. So, voter registration is important. But hear me on this. Voter registration is a tactic. It's not a strategy, it is a tactic. And if we are not communicating to the fastest growing voter groups in ways they hear, understand, and appreciate, they are not going to register to vote with us.
Manny,
we don't have to change our philosophy. Where are the best public schools in California? They are in the wealthiest neighborhoods. Where are the poorest schools in public California? They're in the poorest neighborhoods. Some of those poor neighborhoods are populated heavily with African Americans and Latinos. We don't have to change our philosophy to talk about eliminating the public school monopoly, not letting the teachers union have total control.
Yes.
We just have to talk about creating competition for our public schools with charter schools. Maybe tax credits for people who send their kids to charter schools. And I promise you, Hispanics and African Americans who want their kids to get a good education because they know better than almost anyone in this room how important education is and how bad schools can really be.
Yep.
They will hear what we have to say, and they will rally to our party. Too often, we as Republicans talk to ourselves. I know I have to close.
But not me. I try to talk to him, and then those creepy brown supremacists try to wave him away from me.
Too many Republicans spend all of their time talking to the choir.
They need to go to Huntington Park and cut a hay,
By the way,
like me.
You were the choir. Okay? I love talking to the choir. I get standing ovations sometimes talking to the choir. Go talk to 3,000 members of SEIU and try to convince them that in order to make sure your public pension is safe, you have to have a healthy private sector economy. So cutting taxes makes sense. Cutting regulations makes sense. Try to talk to union members. I mean, I don't get standing ovations when I talk to them. I get boos and hisses. But you know what? Jesus didn't spend all his time with the people who were healthy. He spent time with the people who were sick. And let me tell you what. In almost every church I've been to around the world, the choir, they're already converted. We have a great opportunity. We're going to have good candidates. We have the right message. Socialism doesn't work. It didn't work in the Soviet Union. They collapsed. It didn't work in China, which is why they moved towards a more entrepreneurial model. It certainly doesn't work in Venezuela. It didn't work in Cuba. We have history on our side. We are right. We just have to go out into every neighborhood and share our philosophy. And let me close with this. It's not just enough to share our philosophy and our principles and our values. It's not enough. We also have to share our hearts. Because here's the key.
I don't want them to eat
If
my
you
life.
talk to someone and they don't think you care about them, they will not care what you have to say to them.
That's true.
So I've opened up my heart to you. I have a heart for the future of California. I have a heart for the future of the country. And we're kind of blessed. We are not a state where all we have to do is put a Republican on the ballot and we win. We're not Utah.
Darn.
Where we really don't have to work to win elections.
Darn.
We're blessed because we have to work real hard.
You know what? The Californians go to Utah.
But we can win elections if we focus, if we give a little bit of our money,
I
if
have.
we give a little bit of our time, if we're good neighbors, if we share, not just with the people who look like us and believe with us, people who look like us and don't necessarily believe with us. And if we do that, California can become Utah.
And so Omar,
It may take a
and
while.
that's why those two
But
fat
I'm
girls
committed
stopped
to it,
me from talking to those
and I
kids.
know you are
in
too.
the
God
park.
bless you all.
Because I was going to change it. So this is what we're dealing with. What we're doing in Huntington Park. We're doing this in Cunningham. We're doing this in Maywood. We're only doing it.
Well, thank everybody for coming out. I was going to say, make sure you pay your check and tip the server. But if I understood her correctly, I think she said I'm the only one who hasn't paid yet. Well, good. Thank all of you for coming out. And I want to thank Chairman Brulte. Thank you.
Thank you. Fire Chad Mays.
And we're going to have, I'm thinking next month we may not have a meeting. I'm not sure if we're going to have one of these dinners or not. But
We're not going to have a meeting with
October,
Arthur.
possibly
That's what we
both. And I will be in that
We're gonna
room
hide it,
there.
just like
I'll be back there next time. Want to thank each of you who filled out applications. And if, I don't know if you filled yours out or not, but Glenda back there filled it out and handed it to me. So she's officially number 100. Thank you, Glenda.
Yay!
And just to set the record straight, John said that if we got that 100th member, we'd be the largest in the state. The fact is that we already are by far the largest in the state. Yeah.
Ah!
And we are actually the first company to get to 100.
Yeah.
2+ year history of the organization. So-
We're in Torrance, California, folks.
And you get an email newsletter from us with that next stuff that's going on. And thank you very much for coming out tonight.
All right, folks. Where we are is Torrance, California, at Mimi's Cafe in South Torrance. We just saw the chairman, who I don't blame, wanted to get the heck out of here. So Manny, you've been a Republican since you registered, or what?
Well, since everybody.
There you go.
Yeah. Right here.
Wow. So even though you're in the midst of Cudahy and all that liberal lunacy,
Yeah, being targeted. Not only being targeted, but heard a bunch of RINOs speak about not pushing real aggressively, not giving any real solutions for basic questions.
that's what you do?
Yeah.
So was it your mom and dad who kind of got you on board as a Republican, or
Myself.
what did you read or hear that got you?
Basic question about why the county party is not reaching out to Latinos.
Hi, did you complete the form?
Oh no,
So was this something you read or watched on TV?
No, I self-studied because usually our educational system is run by, say, communists.
We have a self-taught Republican here. What did you read?
The U.S. Constitution, the history, the Democratic Party was founded by the Confederates. I'm all for the Union. If you believe in the 13th Amendment, Abraham Lincoln.
Wow.
Everything's pretty much what we taught in LAUSD is basically under the majority of minority groups and pretty much being brainwashed not only based on the media but by teachers, liberal teachers, Marxism, etc., etc., etc. So that's how I'm a free thinker. Most of us are free thinkers, so that's pretty much how
Wow.
we win people over.
Well, I'm glad you're on board with us. So I have a lot more hope. That's for sure. Where did our best friend Damien go? There he is.
Never.
So that's awesome. Glad to hear it.
I'm running for city council in Cudahy, California.
Okay. When's that election? Is it going to be next year?
Next year, I think the primaries will be in June, July.
Well, it's a city council race. There won't be a primary.
Yeah, we're still gonna have to apply for the 501 form.
Okay, you've already filed, or?
Not yet.
Okay, well, good. Glad you're getting your name up there. That's good. Awesome. Way to go, Manny, for Cudahy. Awesome. That was a really good moment. I'm really glad that I could go after them. You know, what Janice has done, what Damien has done, what this LA County Party has done to so many willing activists is very sad. And I'm glad that I could speak out about it tonight. And I'm not too happy with the chairman's response. I think that the executive board should be ensuring that there's an enforcement of bylaws. To some extent, there's got to be something that's done, but you know, at least he was willing to listen, so that helps a lot. What do you think, folks? Should I go talk to Janice and let's see what she has to say? What do you think? Or have I put her on blast enough? What do you think, guys? It's shameful. Make sure you know what's going on at your local party. Make sure that you're willing to fight for what's right within your city or within any other jurisdiction that you're running. And make sure people know what's going on.
Maximum has done nothing for us, and we are here to say no is no. We're going to take action. We're going to take back our districts.
Hey, Tony Amador, how are you? Let us know if you're ready for Congress again against McNerney. I don't know. It seems almost like a thankless job. I'm live. I am live. Just letting you know.
Wow, you're a firecracker.
I like what I did.
Where are you going to be Saturday and what time?
I'm going to be 2 to 3:30 at the Maritsuchi thing.
Where's that?
So, anyway, let me talk about that later. Okay.
Sure. Oh, okay.
So,
I have the
okay. And that's the guy right there who shamed Olivia Valentine, who was one of many minorities at that March meeting. Why did you do that, Damien? Why did you want to shame people who... That's not an answer. Notice how he gets silent and shameful, because what you did to that club was beyond shameful, and you got busted. What did I do?
Okay, that article with the homophobic slurs.
How was it homophobic?
Calling people...
What article?
The Rainbow Nazi one.
Okay, what about it?
where you you use terms like
what term?
Big homo.
That speaks to the big gay hate machine that is pushing people out of
Homo
jobs,
is
pushing out their works.
Homo is a hateful term.
So it's a hateful term. So why didn't you talk to me about it?
I
You're
have.
angry. No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
What you did was you blew up in front of people like a child.
And
so
what
why
you
didn't
did was
this
take
man's
away
a
the
liar, and he didn't talk to me privately because that's
Yes,
what you do.
I did.
So what did John Paul Tabakian sweet talk you with? Did he give you a job? Did he pay you money, or did he just take you for a ride? Because I understand that you've either dropped him. Notice how this man didn't have the courage to speak to me a year and a half ago, and now you're, oh, that was homophobic. Be an adult and you talk to a man and say, I don't like what you wrote. You did it publicly to shame me, and it didn't work, did it? You were chased out.
It got your charter certificate.
No, it did not.
Yes, it did.
So
yes, it did.
That's a
It took
lie
some
from
time,
the
but
LA
it did.
Times, and
Sure.
also from the party. Why are you running away? Why
I don't
did you? You're a bigot then. Is that what you're saying? Because you wanted to shame me in front of others rather than talk to me like an adult and settle your issues. Everybody, I want you to look at this. Look at this man right here who doesn't have the courage to speak his mind. He's a child who cannot stand his ground to speak the truth. You ran away. We got another runner. Got another runner right there. Now this woman has courage that you do not have. She spoke her mind, and you attacked me publicly for no good reason.
Oh, no, I had very good reason.
No, you didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, you did not.
And I'm the one acting like
Can
a
you
child.
speak
but you're
like
the
this?
one-
I'm talking to you now like an adult and
No,
holding
you're
you
not. You're holding a
accountable.
camera in my face.
I'm allowed to do that. It's called accountability, and that's something that this county has been
something
missing.
you don't have.
Absolutely. You needed to be held accountable, and now you're being held. This is Damian McDowell, who got suckered by progressives, who sold out the county, who sold out conservatives, who attacked me publicly and was
Last
put to
time
shame,
I checked, I was
and he
still
was forced
respected
out
by the party.
No,
No,
you're
I
not.
was not forced out.
Yes, you
I
were.
resigned.
And if the party is respecting you, I don't know who you're talking about, because whatever respect you claim to command was bought at a very low price. This is Damian McDowell lying to the public, put to shame and silenced as you deserve.
Yeah, sure.
It was nice
whatever.
talking to you. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Excuse me. Thank you. You got to do what you got to do. So,
You know what I mean?
Damien's a guy who has no character. He's a guy who has been kicked off as a campaign manager. He's a guy who has no morals. He's a guy who betrayed an entire club, essentially, and was pushed out. He's a guy who, I don't know if he's ever going to have any kind of a commercial or professional calling in any county party. And the fact is, these are the kind of steps that we have to start taking with wayward partisans who are more interested in getting rich than they are in making a difference. This is something I had to do with Janice Webb. This is something I've had to do with other elected officials as well. It's not an easy calling, but this is what I am going to tell to as many of you as possible. These are the steps you have to take. These are the actions you have to take. None of us have to tolerate this kind of abuse any further. Yeah. Excuse me. So I'll talk to you later.
Where did Omar go? Is he gone?
I don't know. I think he left.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, let me turn this off though. I want you to have privacy. Everybody, give me a sec. I'm going to sign off right now.